Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Tie-Dye podcast. This is the preview show where we get to know our opponents a little bit better. It's a 400-mile round trip that faces us this weekend as we travel to the south coast to take on Southampton, who are in fine form at the moment. And with us to tell us all about the Saints is Glen from the Total Saints podcast. Glen, first and foremost, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. It's we joke about the frozen wastelands of the north quite often on the Total Science podcast, simply because it seems to be a very northern-based division this year, and of course we're at the opposite end of the country, but we're in 0 degrees temperatures at the moment, so it's pretty chilly down here. So sitting at home doing me work today hasn't been the most fun.
Well, you've been doing lots of cheering and jumping around at St Mary's this season
Absolutely.
anyway, which has been keeping you warm, which we'll come on to in a second. But first of all, this season, I mean, you started off, we were the curtain raiser, of course, in the Championship this season, a narrow win, even though you hammered us in terms of possession. But saying that, I think every team did in the opening 10 games under Cisco. You then had four straight defeats, including a 5-0 hammering. But currently, your last defeat came on the 23rd of September against Middlesbrough. Since then, it's been 18 games in the league, 12 wins, 6 draws, a win in the Cup, and I think I'm right in saying you can break 2 club records on Saturday if you beat us. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the club record on Saturday, if we avoid defeat, is I think it's the most games unbeaten in the professional era. But we've got this club historian guy who keeps quoting things from the 1890s to say apparently we went 24 games unbeaten in the 1890s when we were an amateur club. So there's there's a few records kicking about. Me personally, I don't care. I just want to win the next game. I mean, it's not like anyone's going to be sat around going, yeah, we're now better than the Invincibles of 1897. No one's going to care.
Yeah,
So for me, it's just one game. We said at the start of the season that it's about we've had 3 years of being a losing team, basically. Losing many more than we won. So we had to turn that around this year, and we needed to go on a long run like this in order to have any chance of going up, which is obviously the aim for this year. So they're the 4 defeats you mentioned. They're interesting because they're it's fairly obvious they've been the turning point of the season, and Russell Martin has said he's learnt more from those 4 games than he has from any of the others. And you could see him even during that run kind of working things out and different combinations and things like that. It was just a little bit unfortunate as far as the league table is concerned that 2 of those defeats were Leicester and Ipswich, who are obviously the 2 teams we're trying to catch at the moment.
yeah.
But no, since that run of 4 defeats, it's been nothing to complain about, even for an old cynic like me. It's been quite good.
I just want to say it must be great to be a Saints fan at the moment. You've already mentioned that being the previous couple of seasons have been a bit grim. I mean, has it been good, or is it a bit too much pressure on to win games? Because much like us last season, desperate to get out of the league that you're currently in, and for you obviously trying to get back to the Premier League. I felt for us last season, I was going into the games almost with I don't want to come across as arrogant, but like an expectation that we were going to beat the teams like your Morecambes and your Accringtons.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that going to St Mary's, that you're going in there and it's almost like, when are we going to score this first goal rather than if?
It hasn't been like that the last few games. We've buried teams. Even though we might have only scored 1 in the first half, we've stopped 4 plus Blackburn, 5 past whatever it was, Swansea, and there's 4 in the cup at the weekend. So that's what I mean about us improving. We were narrow wins at the start of the season, including the one at Hillsborough. Though obviously that was an away game, but things have been improving, and the atmosphere inside the ground as yes, there is an expectation for us to win now, but there's not much angst at the moment. If something goes wrong, like we had our goalie trod on the ball against Plymouth last week, and we let in a ridiculous goal. And it was just one of those things where I think 3 months ago, everyone would have been on his back. And it's like, oh, this passing the ball around football, load of rubbish, goalkeeper's not good enough, blah, 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 blah. But because of the runs that we've been on, I think people are people are seeing the value of what Russell Martin is trying to do. And if we do, let in the odd duff goal because we overplayed at the back, then I think people are prepared to live with it because they've seen the benefits with the amount of games that we're winning.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's a good
yeah,
atmosphere at the moment.
scoring goals at the other end does massively help when you do make a defensive mistake.
Yeah,
If you put four in, then if it's 4-1, who cares? When it's
yeah,
like us,
absolutely.
there's been too many games where it's been 0-0, and then we make a mistake and you lose the game
Yeah.
1-0, and then you're thinking, all the eyes are on the goalkeeper or the defence. Before we talk about said Russell Martin, let's just go back to the start of the season. A 2-1 win, like I said, a narrow
Yeah.
victory. I mean, we didn't know how awful we were going to be at that point.
No.
But I thought we battled hard. We had a bit of a game plan of pretty much let you have it, and we'll try and nick it. Obviously, we nearly did. It was 1-1 until late on. I mean, I don't want to remind you, but you had the likes of James Ward-Prowse, Nathan Teller,
Yeah.
obviously one of the goal
Yeah.
scorers that game. But how did you feel after that game? Was it a bit of a wake-up call, thinking maybe Championship isn't going to be as straightforward as what we first thought?
I think because I've been around the block, I kind of knew it was not going to be easy. There are obviously going to be some teams that you play against that you kind of know you're going to beat. Oddly enough, the one time I felt like that was when we played Rotherham at home, and we ended up drawing that one.
Yeah.
We had 99% possession. They had one kick of the ball in our half, and it flew in the top corner. It's just like, great, love this. But back to that game. No, I knew it was going to be tough. Yeah, like you, I didn't know that result was going to be put into context by quite how bad you guys were at the start of the season under the previous manager. And having those players like Ward-Prowse and Teller, it was kind of this is going to be a horrible cliche, it was kind of a double-edged thing. Obviously, they're very good players, and they've gone on, certainly in Ward-Prowse's case, to better things. But we always knew that they possibly weren't 100% committed to the cause, and now, as after those 4 defeats we had, the team has settled down, and the odd player getting slotted in here or there, and things are going to be things have been good since then. But that first game, I knew it was going to be tough, and we kind of knew Russell Martin's reputation for playing lots of possession, and we were a little bit worried that it was just going to be possession for the sake of it, and until we scored the late goal at Wednesday, it kind of felt a little bit like that game. We'd had 85% possession, and we were drawing because you pumped a free kick into the box, and we defended like under 11s. So so there was a little bit worried, but we got over the line, and after that we seemed to specialise in nicking late goals, which came from having a lot of possession and wearing teams down. So it was an interesting one. I think both teams will be very different. I mean, we're a lot better now than we were back at the start of the season, and you guys are as well, obviously. So it should be a better game. It'll be interesting to see what sort of game plan Mr. Danny Roll has come up with.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's talk about his counterpart, Russell Martin. You mentioned that
Sure.
In terms of the style of play, but very much possession based. I mean, it took him a while to get going, but now you have got going. You must be delighted with how he's got the team performing so far.
Yeah, it's almost like everything he said has come true so far. He did say there will be the odd bump in the road whilst we get used to it. We will get better. You'll enjoy it when we get it right. And what I like about Russell Martin so far is that he identifies obvious issues and fixes them. Like, we had a problem defending set pieces at the start of the season, and then sorted. I mean, if you looked, I think our first 8 games, we let in something like 23 goals. It was horrible. Now the defence is sorted out, and we've got that right down, and we're one of the tightest teams in the division now. So it's the things he's been chipping away at things, and we're gradually getting better in all areas. I do worry about us up front sometimes, because especially in away games, we don't score enough goals away from home. We seem to struggle scoring the second goal to put teams away. There's been a number of games where we've gone 1-0 up and then conceded. And so there are things still to work out, still to work on. But at home, he's certainly got us playing a really sort of good brand of football, and it's the results have followed. So there was a lot of cynicism at the start. I think because we'd had the 3 sort of bad years, people wanted something different, but they didn't really know what they wanted.
Yeah.
And it was like, we want something different. Oh, not that. What's that? And we had a couple of home games where we, like I said, we gave away stupid goals, and people were very quick to jump on the back of, I don't like all this tippy-tappy football and all that sort of stuff. But then, suddenly you're going from your goalkeeper to your centre forward in 10 seconds and scoring, and people are like, oh, okay. And as you said, if you start scoring goals, people soon change their mind. Even the very old and very cynical.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy who sits 2 behind me. I mean, at the start of the season, we just called him Mr. Garrett Forward, because that was honestly that was all it was. We were going centre back to right back to goalkeeper to left back, Garrett Forward. It's just.
Yeah, I have one that sits a little bit closer. He's on the row behind me and just one to the side as well. And so he's right in my ear. And I really don't know why he bothers coming. He's the most negative football fan I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, he's exactly the same. Stop messing about with it back. And do you know what? If we conceded 4 or 5 goals from doing it, fair enough. You think we're not good enough. We need to change our tack a little bit. But we haven't. We haven't conceded 1 from doing it yet. So all right, it might be close. But that's what they want. That's what the players want. They want the opposing team to feel like they're going to get the ball, and then they don't. And I mean, we scored a goal against Preston exactly from that, playing out from the back. I mean, we did actually end up playing a long ball, but everyone goes, "Oh, play it long ball. Look, that's what happens." But we drawn them in, and we exploited them. And I think it's just about we've never seen that before at Hillsborough. We haven't seen that sort of brand of football before. Even when we were doing well in League One, I don't think you can really. Well, maybe things are changing now, but we were very industrial, let's say, last season to get out of League One. So I think it's just the modern way of playing football now. In terms of your form, I have touched on it. 18 games unbeaten in the league. Some of the recent games, it was a 1-1 draw most recently in the league against Norwich. Before that, a win against Plymouth, a 5-0 hammering, as you've mentioned, over Russell Martin's former side in Swansea, a win away at QPR, and then you put 4 again past Blackburn at home. Like I said, on paper, it looks like scintillating stuff. Is that how it's kind of come across whilst you've been watching it as well?
There's been. If you take the 2 big wins against Blackburn and Swansea, both games were tight in the first half. Teams are coming to St Mary's now because this is one of the problems, if you like, of winning a few games at home. Teams are coming in and setting up 10 behind the ball most of the time, and so it does take a while to break these teams down. But I think the fans have got quite patient with that now, and if it's 0-0 or 1-0 at half time, as both those games have been, people are okay with it, and then in the second half, it tends to open out a little bit. We've got one of the strongest squads in the division, so there's always players to bring on that can make a big difference. Like recently, we've had Ryan Fraser scored about 5 goals off the bench. You've got people like Charlie Alcaraz on the bench. Who's in the Argentina squad. It's mad. It's mad, and that's one of the benefits we've got of being the team with the parachute payments who've managed to hang on to a few players. So
not only that as well. I mean, selling players for best part of 100 million combined helps as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that went into the black hole that was the catastrophic loss of turnover of getting relegated, but and we did waste a hell of a lot of money last year. And some, so it's not like we got 100 million and that to, and we're able to spend that. You can't spend that sort of money in the Championship anyway, because you just can't sign the players that are worth that. I mean, we did spend a bit of money on Ross Stewart from Sunderland, who's played about 10 minutes and he's out for the rest of the season. So that's threatening to go the way of some others that we've had that, you just. I think every club does it. You sign a player and they just get injured straight away, and you just know it's going to be a disaster from that moment on. But no,
in terms of signings, and obviously we're in January transfer window at the moment. We've brought one player in James Beadle from Brighton, had his loan cut short at Oxford. Has there been any incomings at Southampton, or is any rumours of players going to come in imminently?
Nothing imminent, I would say. I mean, one of the things that was a hangover of us spending badly last year is that apparently we're up against it with regards to FFP. So if a player leaves, then we might get someone in. So, I mean, there's talk about Che Adams leaving because he's only got 3 or 4 months left on his contract. And so if he goes, they might bring someone in. But no, there's nothing imminent. And the way things are going at the moment, you wouldn't necessarily need to. I think in an ideal world, we'd probably want another striker for the squad, with Ross Stewart having got injured. And if Che Adams goes, they'll certainly need to replace him with someone who is at least halfway capable of sticking the ball in the net. But no, there's nothing imminent. And apart from Adams, I don't really see anyone leaving. I just, the players that, I mean, a bid might come in for Kyle Walker-Peters, for example, who's, he's, despite the fact he never seems to make it in any team of the season so far, bizarrely, he's, in my opinion, easily the best right back in the division. So whether a Premier League club will come in for him, I don't know, but there's always that possibility, I guess. But no, as far as incomings, no, nothing.
Right, before we talk about a few players to watch, I'm going to test your knowledge on players that have played for both Southampton and Sheffield Wednesday. Now, there's 18. Quite a few are from the 90s. Only one has played for you after 2010. 2 of them have over 100 appearances, and 4 have over 50 appearances for Southampton as well. So, how many of those 18 can you name?
Off the top of my head, Carlton Palmer.
Carlton Palmer is one, absolute Wednesday legend. 45 times for Southampton.
David Hurst.
David Hurst, exactly the same time.
He was knackered by the time we got him.
I always find it so weird when you see a picture of David Hurst wearing a Southampton kit. 'Cause obviously, you had the Sanderson logo as well, the Sanderson sponsor. So it literally just looked like he was just playing for Wednesday, but in red and white stripes, which is obviously not a very good idea. Do you know what I mean? It just looks so bizarre.
He actually made quite a good impression in the 30-odd games or whatever it was he played for us. I think he scored about 10 goals. He did okay, but he was clearly struggling with his fitness a little bit, and I think he got a knee injury, which did for him, which was allegedly caused on a night out. We'll leave that one there.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit, given the stories that we've heard. Probably with Carlton Palmer as well at the time, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever really wanted to be down here. I don't know what the circumstances were for him leaving you guys to sign for us. But,
do you know what, my earliest memory of Wednesday is kind of when we got relegated in 99-2000. So when people talk about David Hurst, etc., it goes over my head. I'm a little bit. I was around, but not old enough to remember. But any more that you can remember?
I was going to say Kevin Richardson. Did he play for you guys?
No, Kevin Richardson.
I got that one wrong. That wrong. I remember a youngster who we had who I thought was going to be brilliant, and he wasn't, and he ended up going to you. A guy called Johan Folly. He was a French guy.
Yes, he did. Yes, he played 55 games for us. Only played 12 for yourself. That was a good one there.
He had a brilliant couple of games, and then nothing, and then left. I'm sure there's going to be some really, really obvious ones.
Some good ones.
Go on. Who's the one most recent one? The 2010 one.
Lloyd Isgrove.
See, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have remembered him playing for you at all.
Yeah, he only played 8 times and only played 11 times for yourself. I'll go through them. The 2 players that have got over 100 caps, 100 appearances for Southampton. One from 93 to 97, the other one 98 to 2003. One went on to manage Ipswich a bit later on. The other one, bald head. Which player for you had a bald
Chris
head?
Marsden.
Chris Marsden,
Chris
yes.
Marsden.
The,
Chris Marsden.
and
yeah.
the one that went on to manage Ipswich, Jim Magilton.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
He went to Wednesday after us, didn't he?
He did, yes. Yeah,
Yeah. You see, when players leave us, they're dead to me. Oh.
John, there's not many. There isn't many that actually went from us to you. Well, there's a few. Kenwyn Jones is another one. He had a fantastic loan at us. He came to you after. David Prutton, David McGoldrick, Gordon Watson. You've obviously said Carlton Palmer and David Hurst. Trond Egil Saltvet. He came to us when we got relegated. Mikhail Antonio. I didn't know he played for Southampton. Antonio.
Yeah, he
must have been young.
He was at Reading. He was about 19. It was when we were in League One, and he joined on loan for a season. And he played when we won. He played and scored when we won the Johnston Paints.
Yeah.
So he's it was a shame we didn't sign him. Could have done with him, but Reading wanted him back, and then they flogged him off to Nottingham Forest, I think.
Yeah, that's right. John Somerbo. He played
right
19
back.
games for you. Crazy. Like there's some stories about him, by the way, when he was at Sheffield Wednesday. But
shot or something.
I think that was when he was at Liverpool. I want to say.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly wasn't at Wednesday when that happened, but he had a bit of a scuffle, let's say, in training with one of our players. The other ones you mentioned, Johan Foley, Leon Best. I've mentioned Lloyd Isgrove, Dan Petrescu, Gary Monk, Darren Potter, and Chris Woods. If you'd have got Chris Woods, he'd only played 4 times for Southampton. So back in 1996, after he left us.
And I saw the last of those games, which was a 7-1 defeat at Everton.
Yeah, so remembered for all the wrong things, then I guess.
Yeah, he'd gone. He just went off the edge. You know, he was England goalkeeper, and then he joined us, and he'd gone completely.
Right, let's move to more current affairs then. Players to watch. I could pick out literally anyone in your squad when you compare the two. Kyle Walker-Peters, we've already mentioned it. He's your highest rated according to Who Scored. Plays at right back, 2 goals and 2 assists from that position as well. You've already kind of touched on him already. I think he's probably the best right back. Well, certainly in the league anyway.
Well, at the tail end of last season, obviously we got relegated. We had Tino Livramento coming back from virtually a year and a half injured, and Kyle had played most of the season. And the assumption was that Tino would stay and Kyle would go, you know, in terms of players we'd lose over the summer to the big boys. But Kyle Walker-Peters seems to be one of these guys. He didn't agitate for a move. He didn't say he wanted to go, and he was one that apparently was sort of really impressed with what Russell Martin had to say when he came in, and thought he'd give it a go. I mean, if we don't go up this season, he'll be gone, and fair play. But for him to give us this season so far, touch wood, he doesn't leave in this transfer window that we're in, and he's just got everything to his game. His attacking is better than his defending, but his defending is not bad. You know, he's not
a modern right back. Then I guess very much.
Yeah.
Kind of Trent Alexander-Arnold comes to mind in terms of he's exactly the same.
He defends better than him. But Kyle Walker-Peters he's got tremendous feet. So when he's going forward with the ball, he can literally get his way past 3 or 4 players, and he's got a left foot as well. So he's scored a couple of goals this year, sort of like cutting across the top of the penalty area and smashing it in with his left foot. He's also played at left back as well, which enables us to chop and change a little bit. We've got 2 other fullbacks, Ryan Manning, who's on the left, who can up and down his form a little bit, and James Bree, who's primarily a right back. So one of those 2 will play, and Carl will play wherever he needs to play. So he's also played right wing this year. So, but I think that cuts off a little bit what he's good at. He's much better at coming in from deeper areas. So he's been a tremendous player this season and the 3 or 4 seasons that we've had him. I think it was almost like a swap deal when Højbjerg left us and went to Spurs.
Yeah.
And I still think we got the better of the deal.
Well, so, yeah, it seems that way anyway. I can't not mention Adam Armstrong, mainly because he's scored 13 goals so far this season, second leading goal scorer in the league, only behind Sammy Smodics of Blackburn. Prolific in the Championship, bagged 28 the last time he was in the Championship with said Blackburn as well. We were speaking just before, and you're saying frustrating player, doesn't do a great deal, but then pops up and scores a goal, which I suppose isn't too bad.
He's got what he is very, very good at is sniffing out where the ball's going to drop. So the goal he scored against Norwich in our last game is literally on the goal line. But, he's the one who's there to knock it in. So he is very good at that. He is the centre of all our attacking play. Some of his assists have been hilarious. I think in one of the wins, he got in the way of someone's shot and it bounced off his backside to Joe Aribo, who then scored, and he gets an assist for that. And it's just funny. So, people who don't watch Saints, they just see the number of goals and assists going up. I mean, he actually got given the Nathan Teller goal in the game against you.
Right, okay, yeah, with the deflected off him, didn't it? Yeah.
Because he was trying to get out of the way and it slid off his face and hardly moved at all. But he claimed that goal. So he is a frustrating player. Sometimes you can, 80 minutes have gone and you're thinking, he ain't touched the ball, he ain't done anything. And then he'll score or he'll assist. So you can't knock it. You need, obviously, it's the golden ticket players who can stick a ball in the net. So we would certainly be a lot worse without him this season. I do think if he didn't play and someone else did, I think some of our sort of like overall attacking play would possibly be a little bit better. But you can't knock his goal output or his assists at the moment. So he is one you're certainly gonna have to watch.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about the game on Saturday then. How you think it's gonna pan out? Like I said, you're in fine form at the moment. Where, as you've already touched on, we're a different beast. Versus the side that you played at the start of the season. A different manager, same players largely, although some different faces that weren't playing that day. Cadamartri, one youngster that Danny Rails brought in. How are you feeling ahead of this game? Are you? Look, you're third in the league. We're third bottom. On paper, it looks like it's just going to be a straightforward win. But I suppose, like you alluded to earlier, nothing's too straightforward, is it?
No, it's about styles, isn't it? I'll tell you, two of the most difficult games we've had this year, though we've won them both narrowly, Queen's Park Rangers, and they're second from bottom. They've given us two really, really tough games. So the league table. I mean, Wednesday's form. You're mid-table form at the moment, aren't you? So it's not like you're a dreadful team down the bottom who's winning one game every 7 or something like that. So no, I'm expecting it to be a tough game along the lines of the QPR games that I've just mentioned. You've obviously got a manager now who's got a bit about himself. You always judge a manager by what he can do with what he's got at his disposal, and he can obviously do a lot more with that than Cisco Munoz could. So that's so that's a good thing. So I'm expecting it to be very different to the game at Hillsborough, where I thought you probably gave us too much respect, first game of the season. And but I don't know. I'll be really interested to see how Danny Roll sends the team out, because obviously he was our assistant manager, so you don't know how much of it was him and how much of it was Ralph Hasenhüttl, but we had a very defined way of playing. And I know we spoke to you on our podcast the weekend, and he said that he tends to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, he does. It's going to be interesting. I'd be like you. I don't really know how we're going to set up, because on one hand he likes to play front foot, progressive football, pressing. But then on the other hand, we beat Preston by kind of just soaking up the pressure and dealing with everything that came into the box and just frustrating them. So he has shown that he can do it kind of both ways. My only worry is that I suppose that we're perhaps going to try and come out and play some decent football, and you'll probably pick us apart a little bit. It's very difficult to play a full 90 minutes putting 11 men behind the ball, especially when you're against the
it
quality
is.
that you've got. And we have made a few mistakes at the back, to be honest. So when when you're defending for 90 minutes, but you never know. We could nick a goal. I think obviously there's only three outcomes of a football match, but I think it's either going to be very close, or you could just, like the other games that you've had, just totally run away with it. And I suppose an early goal is key in it, really. As long as the game goes on, whilst it's 0-0. I know you've mentioned that's happened a few times, and then you have kind of killed them off in the second half. But you can always, the advantage kind of goes to the side that's defending, I suppose, when it is a bit like that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'll be really interested to see how Wednesday approach the game. Your season is not going to be defined by how you get on in this particular game. It's kind of you'll be more focused on beating the teams from midway down to try and get yourself out of the mess that you're in. So going away to Saints or playing Leeds or Leicester or teams like that, they're almost like bonus games. So there's two ways of looking at it. You can try and grind out a point, as teams have done, tried to do against us recently, or you can come and admit that we'll come to the realization that we're not prime Real Madrid, and you can actually get at us if you give it a go. I mean, earlier on in the season, we struggled with teams that counter-attacked because we didn't have our defensive shape sorted out whatsoever when we lost the ball. But we're a lot better at that now. So there's I don't know. I think if I was setting up a team to play against us, I think there has to be an element of pressing from the front, because otherwise we'll just have 90% possession and that suits us. But if there's a fine line between pressing with maybe the forward line, if you press with sort of six players and suddenly one pass takes them all out, then that's where the problems come. So there has to be some sort of middle ground with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Glenn, I'm going to ping you to that all important score prediction. Before I do, where can people find the podcast and listen to you after we've beaten you at the weekend?
Okay, that'll be fine. So we broadcast live on YouTube. We've got a Total Saints podcast channel on YouTube. So we broadcast live 7:15 on Sunday evenings. So after we've obviously got beat by Sheffield Wednesday, you'll be able to hear all the misery and
yeah. I don't think if you beat us, I don't think you're gonna have many Wednesday fans flocking to listen to you. But if it's the other way around, sometimes fans always like to see the meltdown.
What you want to look out for is, like, over the following week, we do tend to, our producer chap tends to chop up the YouTube bit, so you'll just be able to watch the Sheffield Wednesday bit rather than whoever, the preview of whoever it is we're playing next week. So there's the YouTube channel. We're on social media at Total Saints Pod, but the Total Saints podcast is all over Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts from. So we're all over the place, but yeah, we'll be expecting a few of you if
it should be
if you win. But
should be a decent one on Saturday as well. Go on then. What's his score prediction going to be, Glenn?
I think it'll be a tough game. I think you'll do better than you did at Hillsborough, but I think we are going to be, the way we're playing at the moment. I mean, we're obviously going to lose at some point. This run can't go on forever. We're going to lose. We're going to lose at some point, but I honestly don't see it being this weekend. So I think you'll do better, but I think possibly the same result, a 2-1 win.
Well, I hope you're wrong, Glenn. Of course.
Thank you.
I hope we do better than that. But no, I think in all honesty, I think you're probably right. Like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. The season does not defined by going away to Southampton. The only frustrating thing is we're 3 points from safety, and Huddersfield have got Plymouth, who are also down there. So they've got an easier fixture. It's all mind games at the moment, isn't it? The gap could quite easily go back to 6 points, which psychologically is a big thing. I suppose we've just got to look at the bigger picture. And Huddersfield have got to come to you either well, at least play you again at some point this season as well. So yeah, it's all swings and
Actually,
roundabouts.
we've got them fairly soon. I think that might even be the next home game.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it could all go back to how it was before fairly quickly. Glenn, massive thanks for joining us.
no
Fingers
problem,
crossed,
James.
fingers crossed you carry this run on after us, of course, and get out of the Championship back into the Premier League. But like I said, fingers
Yeah,
crossed we take the 3 points off you at the weekend.
yeah. Well, good luck to you guys for the rest of the season, regardless. And yeah, I think you'll be fine. But yeah, I think it could get a little bit squeaky. But judging by the teams I've seen in that bottom half, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think there's three worse teams than us, definitely. Cheers, Glenn. Thank you.
No problems, mate. Cheers, Em.